We have grown to love South Dakota. It is a game-rich state with lots of public land opportunity and beautiful landscapes. In early October, we decided to head back and try to fill Tom's deer tag.
It's October 4th. We're back in South Dakota where we had some luck last year. Not starting it off exactly how we want to. We got some cattle in where we saw the bucks last year. But we're gonna now split up. We were gonna stick together tonight, but I think we'll split up now. I mean, we got in kind of late and we probably only have an hour and a half of sunlight, so we're just gonna see what we see where the cattle's at. We have other options. We found some other good spots last year, so it's not the end of the world, but we'll see if there's cattle in all of it or just some. But well, Thomas and I ended up splitting up tonight. We wanted to go together, but when we got to our original spot over this way, there were cows. And there weren't any cows there last year, so we were just like, we don't want to put all of our chips into that basket just in case. They're just not hanging out there anymore. And I think he's seen a few deer, so that's good. But I'm just glassing up this spot. I've been driving around and glassing a few other walk-in areas. Saw one truck, and I've seen a couple does. No bucks yet, but still have a little bit of glassing time here that I'm gonna try to spot something up. I love this country out here. It's just a little more like rolly, and it's got these like bur oak and cottonwood little bottoms that kind of run through these hills. Not really canyons, but kind of canyons, just deep, basically creeks and cutouts into these hills, and just super good habitat for deer. I mean, these hills just hold a lot of deer, so really looking forward to the next few days. Hopefully we can spot up something to go after for tomorrow morning. I mean, body size, I don't hate it. Definitely don't hate it. See? Do you see any of that there? October 5th. Didn't get snagged by a rattler coming in, so that's a plus. Just looking over the ground where I found those two bucks last night. When I left, they had like just went over this ridge. They're in with cows, which is an anomaly for what we typically see, but haven't actually spotted a deer yet. It's really windy this morning. We thought being on this side of the hill would help because they'd want to be out of the wind on the north side of the hill. So the sun's just popping up. Hopefully that gets deer in the feed. Didn't spot a deer this morning. Those bucks I saw last night never showed. Didn't see any deer. High winds, I mean, it was like at least gusting 30 where we were glassing from, and maybe they just didn't want to get up and move, but we'll probably give this spot a little break because there's just cows back there. I don't know. I mean, it's a super deery spot, but not with cattle in it, so we're gonna go check off a couple other boxes. Well, we've got a pretty short trip, so we're just trying to make the best use of our time. We're gonna walk these draws. That's actually how I killed a doe last year. doing this. So any buck goes really for me. I'm not going to be picky. We're just going to walk, I don't know, maybe a couple miles of this, and then we've got a good plan for tonight that we're going to be hunting just down that way, maybe a mile. So we'll see what we see. Alright, Nate and I decided to split up. We ended up getting a hot tip from somebody in town. So he's at that piece. I'm over here, heading to a spot where I saw some whitetails last night. So I got probably a little bit over a mile walk in. It's just before 5, so looking good. Alright, well, I'm back here. I'm about 80% sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. It's always tough. Like, I found this spot from like 2 miles away, glassing over on the other hills I was at. So it's like when you're right into it, it's kind of tough to tell. But I like it. One thing that I like a lot is that there's a little ladder rifle stand right over here that the landowner must have out here. So typically landowners know where the deer's at, so I like that. But I'm set up in a good spot just under some oaks, tall grass in the shade, so it should be money if deer pop out.
We definitely prefer to hunt together, but when time is short and we don't have any good leads, it usually means we're splitting up, double our odds of locating a deer. It's like 6:15. Just spotted my first deer, just a doe down here. Hopefully there's some good ones hanging out in these hills.
Well, Nate ended up spotting some deer this morning, and so he went and picked me up, drove over here, started glassing for a little bit, got the spotters out because it's a bit of a look, and in like 5 minutes we saw a nice whitetail buck and 4 muleys. Now we've got a muley bedded. The issue is he's on this hillside, and there's just nothing in between us and him, so we're gonna figure out a way around him. But since then we also had 2 does, and then what looked like a buck chasing them, a young mule deer buck chasing them. He's breathing hard after him, so I think we're gonna drop our packs here and get closer.
11 a.m. Wednesday. This is our last full day to hunt. We just spotted a muley buck bedded on the downside of a cedar, and Thomas is going in for the stalk. It's going to be a tough stalk because, of course, he's bedded in a really, really tough spot to get to. And then with our wind, we got to come in a certain way, so we're having to get at him from underneath him, which we never like to do because on the top side of him is the private ground behind him, so we can't really go that route. So we are, Tom's basically just gonna crawl super slow in front of him. I mean, he's gonna be within a few hundred yards of him, right underneath his nose, and then go over the top on that little sliver of public behind him, and then try to get narrow into him. So, long ways to go. Quick update, buck is still bedded. Tom is still stalking. I have lost sight of Tom. All right, so another update. It's been about 45 minutes since Tom left, and another buck just moved in. Actually, I think it's a younger buck, but he moved in and bedded just above this other buck. So I don't think that's gonna change much. Just another set of eyes we gotta kind of worry about, but he's kind of behind the cedar, so I don't think Tom should have to worry about him too much. But just waiting to try to get eyes on Thomas coming around this edge. All right, it's been like an hour and 10 minutes since Tom left. Haven't seen him in the last like 45 minutes. But the deer is still there. Actually, what was kind of interesting is the smaller buck, which I think is still, he's still pretty decent. Thomas would shoot him, I think. I don't think the big buck knew that the smaller buck was there, and I don't think the smaller buck knew the bigger buck was there. And they were sitting within a few feet of each other. So the bigger buck stood up, and the little one like spooked like crazy, like ran 20 feet off and like stared in there. And sure enough, they kind of had to stare off. Both of them were standing up, and then the big guy bedded back down, and then the smaller one bedded back down. So looks like a big 4x4, and then I can't tell what the further back buck is. Maybe a smaller 4x4. Still hanging out, you know, on this hillside, just having a good time. It's been an hour and a half. Haven't seen Tom yet. Bucks are still bedded. I'm really thinking that he's got a show in the next 15-20 minutes. I can see the chute that goes up behind the hill those deer are on, so I'm 90% sure I'll be able to see him go into that and then come over the top. So just gonna be patient, wait it out. They're not going anywhere, it looks like.
Man, pretty tired. Got within about 85 yards of those bucks. Took me 2 hours to cover about 400, 500 yards. I basically made it, like I was telling Nate, I was like 10 seconds away from like getting on my feet and whipping around the top of this hill, getting a shot. But a doe blew at me. I was only like 20 yards away from, obviously didn't know she was there. I thought I heard her sneeze like earlier, and I like glassed that area really good, didn't find anything. So you just can't prevent that kind of stuff from happening. 2 does busted, and then those bucks got out of there too. There's a lot more bucks back here though. We'll definitely spend time here this evening.
After that exhausting stalk, we got some food, water, and geared up for the afternoon hunt. We were headed back to a knob in that same area with hopes of spotting anything with antlers.
in this pretty big drainage, and there's another one over here, and a young buck popped out. I haven't been picky this whole trip. I'm gonna just go see if I can potentially get a shot on him. He's just a little 2x3, probably like 2 years old. So Nate's gonna stay up here. I'm gonna go take a look.
Shot. I'm not sure what happened. On our last day to hunt, we only had a few hours. They started off action-packed when we spotted a buck on public. We closed the distance but could not relocate him. With an hour left to hunt, we pretty much were going to call it quits. That's when 4 bucks skylined the hill about 150 yards from us. We sank to the ground, and after a 15-minute stare-off, they started to head straight for us. The bucks closed the distance pretty quickly, and before long they were at 40 yards. Thomas drew and a few bucks spooked, but the biggest one gave Thomas a shot.
We were working in on some bucks. Sure enough, 4 more pop over, and we get down enough, and they, for some reason, like whip around us and are coming in closer. I drew one at 40, but they popped as soon as they saw me like draw. But one popped up at 60, and I hit him back. But I've seen some really lethal shots in the butt because there's a big artery that runs by. He was pumping blood right away. I luckily found blood,
right here. I'm gonna start an Onyx tracker. We saw his posse. He's not there with them. There's only 3 bucks in there. So we're gonna just slowly creep, hopefully follow some more blood. We've had highs and lows. Like, he's done certain things that dying bucks do. Like, he just freaking like just went running through like a big pile like branches that like a healthy buck would just go around. He did a bunch of zigzagging. Right now he's finally just going in the bottom. The issue has been he's been like topping out over these hills, and it's been like so tough to find it over the hills, but we've gotten to this point. I mean, I bet we've tracked close to half a mile at least. I just hope that he's in here somewhere. This hunt was yet again another painful learning experience. We never want these animals to suffer, and we exhausted ourselves tracking that buck for hours. We tried to contact blood tracking hounds in the area with no luck. All you can do is pray that deer lives and learn from mistakes. Looking back with the time frame we had to hunt, the length of the shot, wind speed, and the deer alertness, we should have decided to pass on that shot entirely. There's at least a foot. There's at least 18 inches lodged in him, and then at least a foot in him still. Going. And we searched for probably close to 4 hours. We traveled about 1.5 miles is what the tracker said. I mean, we followed blood the whole way, basically. I mean, some types, or sometimes it would just be like thick, and then other times it would just be like pin drop every so often. And towards the end there, we were finding a drop every 10 feet or something. He never bedded up. Like, he just never decided to bed up, and that was going to be our hope, is if he bedded up and then died. I mean, we would have, like, we were far behind him. Like, we never pushed him or anything. So, consensus is just that he's probably surviving. Like, right when I hit him, I thought that was gonna be a lethal shot. Sometimes you hit him that back thigh and it just gushes. You know, like, there's an artery back there that I was hoping to nick, because as soon as I shot him, I saw blood starting to bust out of him. But I mean, we both think he's far gone and probably living. So we got to get back. We're actually a couple of hours late. I was supposed to be on the road by 9. I'm hoping we'll be back out here in late November, early December.